Card Podcast. Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to episode number 13 of About the Cards podcast live tonight. As always, my co-host, Ben Wilson at our Trading Cards Ben. God, there's more dislikes on your page. We had to start a Google Doc. We have Stefan Loeffler at Junk Wax Twins. Twins won tonight, which means the A's are closer to the Yankees, making Ben happy. And Big Shep 79, Tim Shepler, the Royals keep winning. Stop winning. We've won 6 of 10. We were like 2 games out of the first pick. Tank. Let's do it. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors, hoping to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading cards tonight. Like I said, we're live here on YouTube. We're live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Coast time. You can always follow us on Twitter at About the Cards, iTunes. Just search our name, About the Cards. And follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. We hit 100 subscribers. I think we're, like over 100, close to 110, 109.
110 earlier.
110, nice.
Hold up, 110, yep.
110, outstanding. And we had a winner. So we went through and I did a little random. And Game Time Cards was our big winner, so very excited for Game Time. Sent him a message, and they will get last week's set of Topps Living delivered once we have it in hand. So let's get into it, guys. Real quick though, how are we doing tonight?
Well, address in chat. Jenny says, good evening, everyone. And Beans says he made it. We can begin now. So Brenton Becker. But that's 4. No, it's been a good week so far. So let's keep that rolling.
Yeah. Benjamin, how are you tonight, bud?
I am excellent. I am better than you will ever be.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited because this morning I finished off picking up all the Sandlot inserts out of archives before the hobby's here. So thanks, retail. I opened a few blasters, and each blaster I pulled a different one. And I said, why not? And I was able to pick them all up. I think Wendy's the one that cost me the most at like $250.
I think she and Benny are the ones that are kind of trending at $dollars. They're
and actually, I pulled Benny. I was happy. I thought Ham would cost me some money. It was $1.75 ship, so not too bad. Guys, let's get into last week, the week that was Topps Living. Unfortunately, we don't have numbers because they released this week's set before last week's ended. So next week we'll have double numbers. But again, last week was Roberto Clemente, Tyler O'Neill, the rookie outfielder with the Cards, and Avisail Garcia. We also last week talked about 2018 Leaf History of Baseball Cut Signature Edition, 18 Panini Absolute Football, 18 Topps Luminaries Baseball, which we'll bring up later in the show, and 17-18 Vanguard Basketball. Can't get enough of 17-18 basketball. We're going to hop right into it. Hot off the presses, the new releases this week. I know Ben was excited. All of you that follow him on Twitter today, he was joyous. It's the 27th week, so we're up to 81 cards now. Card number 79, which is my favorite number, is my jersey number. We have Jacob deGrom, possible Cy Young candidate, pitcher for the New York Mets. He's the 3rd Met. Number 80, Victor Robles, outfielder from the Washington Nationals. He's a rookie, and I believe he's the 22nd rookie. He's the 5th National. And 81, Jed Lowry, shortstop, Oakland A's, 5th Athletic.
Who wants the Reds or Rangers?
There are 4 teams with 5 cards. I just named 2 of them, Washington and Oakland. Can you name the other 2?
So Yankees and
the Braves.
Dodgers.
The Braves must have 4 then.
Braves do have 4. Yep, and there are 5 teams with only 1 card. Let's see if we can name those.
Well, I'd say Twins, but we got fan service 2 weeks ago.
Rangers, Reds.
I heard Diamondbacks, Reds, Rockies, Tigers, Rangers.
Rockies, Rays?
Rockies, Rays have 2.
They've got Adames and
Malik Smith.
Yeah.
Really quick, though, you remember how we talked about Bartolo's the only one with like a waist-up shot?
Yep.
He's not. Dustin Fowler has a chest. and his photo.
That's right. Yeah, you are right. But I think we might have talked about what number was Cologne. I think that was
early on. He was
30 or so, 40.
Yeah, Dustin Fowler was number 65. So
yeah, Bartolo was 44, and Fowler was 65. So just interesting. Hey guys, let's get some of these guys. I mean, there's plenty. Like Randy Johnson's a Diamondback. Matt Williams. You got Goldie. Goldie's a great player. Votto, Joey Votto for the Reds. If you're looking for someone in current. In the past, God, that's just the big red machine. Too many guys to name there. The Rockies. I mean, Helton, Walker. You know, hey, you know what? Give me a Garrett Hampson. He only played a handful of games this year, but he's a rookie. Give me one of those. Detroit Tigers. I don't even want to go down. We have K-Line. There's a lot of guys you could do there. And the Rangers. I mean, Gonzalez, Rodriguez, Ruben Sierra. Even that'd be a neat one, right? For all those Pete Incaviglia. What's his name at Panini? Would love a little Pete Incaviglia because isn't that his Twitter handle?
Prussia.
Yeah. You know,
got a situation where, you know, again, I saw Jed Lowry today, and I kind of hung my head. Now, I went back and bought a bunch of the retired and Hall of Famers. So, you know, guys like Bo Jackson who are retired but won't make the Hall. And I bought a select few of the rookies and then the A's. So I'm going to kind of just buy them non-A's players as I see. You know, that'd be a cool guy to have. Man, I was so frustrated because Lowry's the 5th A. I said this when Fowler got released a few weeks ago at number 4. I'm like, there's so many teams that are underrepresented thus far. It's going to be frustrating because you've got, you know, 5 teams who've been seen once. And, you know, what week are we in now? Like week 27 or something like that?
27, yep.
So 27, yeah.
27 weeks. If I'm a Rockies fan or a Tigers fan, Reds who have these illustrious histories, nothing. You know, and I keep saying, well, as an A's fan, you know, Fowler, and I said it with Mania before that. I was like, I'm gonna have to wait 10 or 12 weeks before I see another one, and I was wrong. It's like every 3 to 4 weeks they're releasing an A's, and although that's okay for my personal collection, if this set's gonna have holding power, they're gonna have to diversify more. And luckily the Giants and Royals and Twins and some of the other teams,
our teams,
starting right. Well, that's the thing, you know, with the 81 that we have so far, statistically speaking, we should have like 2.5, 2.7 cards per team. Right. But you see this every year. The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the major names or whoever's making a playoff push is going to get more featured than the Rays, I almost said the Expos.
You know what I find funny is that the good teams, I mean, the Astros won the World Series last year. They've been a very collectible team. They only have 2 cards. The Indians, they're doing well, and they've been doing well the last handful of years. They have 2 cards. It's just interesting to me, like the teams like that, they only have a handful. I mean, the Cardinals, they have 3 cards, but they have a hell of a history in baseball. The Blue Jays have 3 cards in you know, the fact that Tampa Bay has 2 cards, no one collects Tampa Bay. Like, there's the one guy I found. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and before and after the show, which is probably the best part of the show. We should just start recording when we hop on. Right. But we had who could find a Rays collector? I did. Like, I followed him like this, and it's actually his like handles like the Rays collector or something, and it's hard to find guys that collect Rays. And they have 2 cards before some of these other teams with deep, thick MLB histories have a card. It's a little frustrating to me.
Well, and it's frustrating for the few players for those teams, but you know, I get the point where they have to sell towards what's going to sell. So you're going to have to sell the rookies, and you're going to have to sell towards the major market teams. But you also can't forget the other teams. Otherwise, you're just screwing yourself out of a market.
Yeah, now, and sure, it doesn't make a full set.
The Rays or the Twins or the Tigers aren't as huge of a market as Los Angeles or New York or these other huge cities. But, you know, a little of some or a little of none. Which would you rather have?
When it also needs to be an inclusive set where it's actually showing what the league is like, and you know, right, all of their franchises. So again, it's still my favorite one of my favorite sets that's come out in the last handful of years. I was going through the rookie cards I have. And I have one buyer or one seller I go to all the time, and I might not get the cards as quick, but they always come sharp and perfect. And it's Twins Jake, right? That's the guy you want to buy him from. And he makes sure like the black borders don't have little dings. I know he's a little frustrated today when he got a shipment in like a third or fourth. He's got to send it back because all the little corners in the bottom are dinged up and white when it's a black spot. So I appreciate that, and I told him that today when I asked about one of the cards, and they always come in good shape. I love them. The card stock, most of the artwork has been amazing. Mine was Rizzo, I think. Looked a little funky, but keep it up, Tops. But let's get some more teams out there. We all would appreciate it.
They already know my opinion on the such after a few Q&As.
I asked Jake this past week. I was like, as I was picking up some of the players, and some of the players that are probably less desirable, I'm like, hey, if you've got a bunch sitting around, would you be willing to cut me a break on like 5 or 6 at once? If they're just guys that you don't think you're ever going to move off of. And he's like, I would, but I've sent so many cards back. He doesn't know what he has coming and going at this point. He's like, he goes, I've got cards that are here. I think he got a replacement batch. He had to send those back because of the ding corners. I don't know what they can do. I was moving around some cards in my binder today as I got a couple of new players, and the stock is not the best compared to some others. I would have preferred this being a premium product that you're buying on demand. I wish it would have been a thicker stock because it's not very thick.
Yeah, I mean,
silence.
I always leave Ben a little extra space because you never know where he's going to ramble down. Right. The man is not short on words.
That's right. I'm like the white rabbit. As soon as I go down that bunny hole, you just never know where Alice is going to end up.
That's true. You just called yourself Alice. Also, this week coming out, 2018 Panini Spectra football. They had this in basketball. Launched today. About $280 a box. 4 packs per box. 4 cards per pack. You're getting 4 autos, 7 mem. There is a 170 card base set with 11 parallels with the Nebula. I think it's out of 2. I just like saying Nebula. If I got another dog, I might name that dog Nebula. There's 13 autograph sets. One of my favorites, there were 2. The 50th anniversary Hall of Fame signatures. It's a 15 card set. Now
I saw that. Yeah,
they are not like the highest in Hall of Famers, but interesting, right? You have Chris Dolman. I think an underrated Hall of Famer. One of my favorite guys, Larry Allen. A little bias. I know his brother worked with him. He's a great guy. They also had Illustrious Legends, Neon Blue and Neon Green. It's a 30 card set. And these were guys that were really good. Like they're in that class, like really good or very interesting players that kind of like Bo Jackson, right?
Right.
LeVar Arrington was one. Rich Gannon, Mike Allstott, like guys we all grew up going like Pro Bowlers, but never going to be Hall of Fame guys. They're never going to be the most collectible, desirable, but very interesting and new names. You have all these rookies shoved in there. I mean, out of 13 autograph sets, like 9 or 10 of them are all rookies. There were a handful of these like ones, and I thought that was cool with the Illustrious Legends. There's 10 relic sets. And one of them was like a rivalry relic set, which was cool. It was like Bo Jackson and Steve Largent was like one of the pairs. It was some awesome like pairings of former players with those old school jerseys. It's very similar to the basketball. You're getting a lot of color and a lot of pop out of it. But we'll get into like the collectability of it here later in the show. It was kind of on Twitter earlier. But overall, interesting set. Did you guys get to see any photos or any breaks of this today? I saw one, and it was just, ho-hum Panini product. Here's a couple rookies. And
that's kind of what I saw. And I got a question for you, Ben. In the fight to who gets it first, are you going to get the Gannon or am I? Wasn't he also a Raider and a Viking?
And a
he
Chief?
Was. I'm scaling back what I'm collecting on a lot of stuff. There's so much stuff out there at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, and then coming up here, 2018 Bowman high-tech baseball. This is the second year for this product. It's $100 a box. You're getting 1 pack, 10 cards, 4 autographs, and 1 base parallel. There's no real true base set, but there's 10 different pattern parallels. There's 11 rookie cards with Shohei and Reese Hoskins leading the way. There's no Acuna rookie or Soto rookie, but there's 45 prospect cards. Gleber has a prospect card, Hunter Green, Joe Adell, and Acuna's in the prospect side at this point. Kind of makes me think that this product was targeted maybe to come out a little earlier this year. Right. There was still no Soto. There's 3 auto sets, or 3 insert sets and 4 autograph sets. They have the fun designs and color on them. On card auto, I was watching a break today. The Royals have one guy, Nick Prado, a first base prospect, and he was pulled in the first case on card auto, and it was numbered. No big deal. I remember it was numbered out of. Second case, he comes out. The base auto is a redemption, and in the same pack, a numbered auto from him was in there. Like, I guess he didn't get to all of them in time.
I
know Luis Robert for the White Sox was a redemption in Bowman. He's actually has live autos in this, which might mean those redemptions are available. I know he's a big hot prospect currently for the White Sox. Interesting product. High tech, just not like really my game. It's cool. Like, you're gonna get 4 autos for $100, and you could hit a big name. I mean, I think
they're cool acetate cards.
Yes, they are.
They're really nice as far as if you have them in hand to fill them. I was disappointed this year by I tweeted out about their autograph is at an angle in the bottom corner, and guys that have longer autographs are going to be they're going to have to scrunch it together to get it into the space that's allocated. I was not a fan. I was considering buying Austin Beck, who was the A's first round pick, and I saw the auto and I was like, not a big fan, and I don't know if it's worth 10, 12, $15 when I can use that money elsewhere. And then you have so many parallels, and like you said, a base set. What do? You pick the spirals. You pick, you're going to have to pick one of the more common ones and just get, in the A's case, there's 3 of them. So
yeah, if there's one guy you like, like the Royals guy, like, hey, it'd probably be pretty easy to collect all of his. It's a good set though. I mean, but if you wanted to go in and just have fun for $100 and get 4 autos, you're all going to get rookies or prospects. And that's a good value. Like that, it's not their first Bowman. It's not their Bowman Chrome. It's not their Topps Chrome rookie. Something that's a big time value. But I mean, you hit the right guy in this. A few years from now, that $100 investment, you could make tenfold.
High tech's kind of a confusing set with all of the different parallel sets, the different backgrounds on the cards. But that's not too bad of a value for the cost per auto. It just depends what you pull.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of like a Facebook game or a game that you play once in a while to kill some time. To me, this is just a throwaway product that it's not impressive. It's not impressive. It's kind of there collected.
Well, here are the rookie autos. I mean, you have Ahmed Rosario, who's been around, Ozzie Albies, Devers, Hoskins, Shohei, and Victor Robles. Some of the notable prospects, as you said, Austin Beck. You have Brendan McKay from the Rays, who's a 2A guy. Christian Pache from the Braves. Let's see, Evan White from the Mariners, who's getting some love. Gleber, Hunter Green, Helio Ramos from the Giants, Joe Adell, Jake Berger, Jaron Kendall from the Dodgers, Keibert Ruiz from the Dodgers. If you're buying in a break, the Dodgers are a good team. I saw one case and there were 4 autos out of there for them. Mackenzie Gore, Palvin Smith from the Diamondbacks, like I said, Acuna, Royce Lewis from the Twins.
Yep.
If you like Shed Long, I know he comes up quite a bit. So I mean, there's some good names in there. If you could tell yourself, hey, I can get Hunter Green for $25,
take a shot at it. Why not?
Right? Yeah. So it was just kind of interesting product, and one of those if you're looking to have a little gamble.
Let's see if I can sway Ben's opinion. My local store here, Nick's Sports Cards, in Plano, posted a video earlier breaking a box. Real quick, maybe 20 seconds long. I hope the video comes through. It might not.
The photos are there, just no audio.
Let's see. Let me do this. Boop.
Well, while he's doing this,
and I'll retweet this, of course.
Yeah, we'll send it out today. Nick's is one of those popular. I know that it was made famous.
In there too. That's Otto, Shane Bass, Michael Bayas, Sixto Sanchez, Kyle Wright, and some other new guys. There's a Hoskins in there too. That's a nice card. So come check out the new stuff at Nick's, and thanks for shopping with us.
Yeah, I mean the acetate cards are really cool. I think that's a big point of it, and you're getting some big names for a good value. It's just one of those sets. Hey, if you're looking for something for $100 to the price of a couple blasters, you're going to get 4 autos. It's not a bad deal. We weren't around to talk about this. Our show hadn't started when this set came out, but the update's here. 2018 Topps Heritage High Number comes out Friday officially. You can get a box for around $120 or so. You're getting 24 packs, 9 cards a pack. You're going to get 1 autograph or relic. This is an update of the earlier release with the 69 design. The high number shifts primarily the focus to rookies and traded players. It's a 225 card base set. It starts at 501, where the short prints end in regular Heritage at 500, and then short prints start in this set at 701 to 725. There are action variations that are limited, action images which are limited to hobby boxes. There's airs, nickname, team color variations where the team name has a different color, and that's only in hobby, throwback, and then traded variations. So those are always fun to hunt down. There's 4 parallel sets. There is a base chrome set, which is a 50-card set, all numbered out of $9.99 with 5 parallels. There are chrome hotbox refractor parallels that are exclusive to hobby and value boxes, where the whole box of Heritage is all chrome cards.
Yep.
They also have a base mini set, which is the same 50 cards, all numbered to 100. There's 7 autograph sets, but they have like their real autographs, or whatever they call them. But the ones I found were cool. They were the Amazing Mets autograph set from '69 because they won the series that year. They're numbered out of 69. Nolan Ryan, Ron Swoboda, and there are a handful of those Mets that were there. There's a Reggie Jackson highlight autograph set, which is 5 cards, 5 numbered out of 5. 1 with the Kansas City A's, 1 with Oakland, 2 with the Yankees, and 1 with
Angels.
Yeah. And then there's a 69 cut signature set. They have baseball and celebrities in this. Baseball players and celebrities like Stan Musial, Richard Nixon, Dave Thomas of Wendy's fame. Cut signatures in there. They have 4 relic sets. My favorite is the Clubhouse Collection dual relic set at numbered out of 69. So you had like a player from the 60s, 69 year, and then now. So it was like Bench and Votto, Seaver and Syndergaard. So if you're a Mets fan, you can have a Seaver and Syndergaard like dual relic card. That's pretty cool.
Outside of a few of my twin sets that I picked up on my own, or actually opening them from a pack myself, I got one of those Clubhouse Collections dual relics one year. A Brooks Robinson, David Wright, numbered to 10. A regular base, not out of Heritage High, but there's some real sweet looking cards if you want to look them up.
Yeah, but this set, when I looked at the checklist and the depth of this checklist, since it is a Heritage update, I mean, I was thinking I could watch a highlight video of a contortionist and see less of a stretch, because it just seems like there's so much overlapping. You got Bowman High Tech, which is the prospect version of Topps High Tech. Now you've got update. It's like, how much of this do we need? Heritage High Number should be a very small, select, limited print run. What it is, right? It's a high number short print set.
Well, Shohei has a base card in this, and he also has a short print in series in the regular version.
You did all the Reggie Jackson autos in Heritage. You don't need to bring them back, even if they're only out of 5. It's not necessary. But
real quick, there was a question in the chat from Aaron. Hopefully, the high numbers SPs are better this year. Last year, no stars from 701 to 725. So these guys might not be stars, but some fan favorites. Piscotty with the A's. We have McCutch with the Giants, unfortunately. Low Kane with the Brewers. Darvish with the Cubs. Hosmer with the Padres. JD Martinez with the Sox. Santana with the Phillies. These are all like the big free agent moves this year. Kemp back to the Dodgers. Garrett Cole with the Astros.
Ichiro with the Mariners.
Back with the Mariners. Yelich with the Brewers. Arrieta with the Phillies. Brinson with the Marlins. And Longoria with the Giants. Just it was all like kind of the big names that moved around this year in free agency.
Yep.
So, but the other thing cool that I thought was cool in this, they're gonna have box toppers. Love box toppers. We need more of them. It's a 1969 Bazooka ad panel, which looks sharp. Let's see if I can pull it up here and share. It was cool. They're gonna have the Deckle Edge cards in there again, which I think are neat. I can't find my picture for the panels, but I always love box toppers. I think that we need more of them. I just do. I think they're cool. Sometimes they're hard to ship. I remember one time I got a Teddy Bridgewater rookie one that I dumped off to some poor sucker.
I didn't get it this year, but 1969 Topps had the posters, and I don't remember how many were on the original checklist. I considered buying the Oakland A's poster, and I'm thinking, where am I going to hang it? You know, I'm already devoid of wall space, you know, just from pictures of my kids. So
take them down. You know what they look like.
That's what I'm saying. And two of them are boys. I'll just tell the young one that's him.
Yeah,
as he gets older. You know?
I love Heritage. I didn't at first. It took a while. I'm getting more into it as I start to collect vintage myself, and now next year we'll be in 70, and I'm working on it the 70, and that's where I'm at. So I think I'll be all in it next year. I was gonna buy a box this year. I was gonna buy a couple boxes this year, like I did last year, but the Shohei SP like destroyed the box prices, and they still really haven't ever come down. So, you know, I bought a set for the sixth of what a box was running, and I got the complete set. And I've been working on short prints here and there. Nothing like I'm really trying hard, but you know, someday we'll get there. But also this week, 2018 Trinity Leaf football comes out Friday. A little about 112 a box. You're getting one pack per box, 5 cards. They're all autographs. They're all on card. This is probably one of the most popular Leaf products when it comes to football rookies. They have clear signature sets, and they're acetate cards of various colors. There's the Trinity signature set where they leave a big space. So this is where players are putting inscriptions to either their college or their professional team. And also jersey patch autographs with big hunkin' patches, which are always cool. This is a very popular product for those guys that like football rookies. And, you know, Leaf puts out a good-looking product for whatever reason. They blocked me on Twitter. I don't even know why. I don't think I've ever said anything bad about Leaf. Like, that bad to get blocked. But, hey, you got to do what you got to do. But I'm interested to see some of this. This is a good product to hop in a break or get on the secondary market. I don't think I would dive in it, you know, and because some of the times depends on what rookie you're looking for, but you could hit something big for $112.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any product. You have to ask yourself, how much of what are you really looking to get out of it?
And no logos, so
yeah. If you're, you know, I know us and a lot of our followers that follow the show are team collectors, vintage collectors, player collectors.
Yep.
You know, you have to ask yourself, what am I looking for this box to do for me? You know, like Stefan had said, on a per auto basis, the Bowman High Tech, it's probably
not too bad
value. You know, Elite Extra Edition, where you always get like 6 autos, and sometimes you get like a 7th or an 8. It's good value. It's, you know, for what you're opening. You know, Leaf has some really nice products. So at the very least, you're going to get some nice looking cards. Whether or not you'll return is, you know.
And that goes into one of our topics later tonight. And just for Jenny, let's get organized.
Apparently, I just volunteered to sing Ken a goodnight lullaby. So that may have to be after hours on about the podcast after dark.
Yeah,
after dark. Yeah.
After dark. Anybody that we're stealing that from Cardboard Connection Radio. Remember After Dark?
Oh, I love that segment. Yeah,
that was always the best. They would always stay on a little bit later, and it was never on the iTunes version, but it was always on. What was that they used? Oh man, it's long been gone. But the radio, the web radio thing that they used back then, it was great.
I forget what it was. Yeah.
That's where I met Southwest Las Vegas guy, who was one of the first guys I ever met on Twitter, and he was trying to get every Houston Astro card ever. And he
still is.
Yeah, he is, and he was one of the first guys I ever ran into that was
Charles. Charles
was great guy.
I traded him a long time ago, a bunch of Astros stuff, a Ricky Henderson autographed ball that he got from Topps. Man, that was a great trade. I love Charles, other than the fact that he's an Astros fan. That's where I met Eric at those back pages. Originally, was in the chat room, just going back and forth, and he's so knowledgeable. I was like, all right, I got to follow this dude.
Hey, real quick, Rob Hobson, Blog Top Radio, and it's Robert Tran.
That's right.
And it's in the chat. Rob's
Blog Top Radio. By Onyx, and I was like, "What is Onyx?" I keep hearing about it because I was just getting back into the hobby about that time, so there was a lot of stuff kind of floating over my head.
I feel really excited. Rob's listening right now. I used to listen to him and loved it, and he's always got me excited. He was on Mojo's show today, and I missed it. I was a little under the weather, so I missed. I have to look at that tonight. They're going to be back and forth on each other's show, so that's very cool.
Rob makes a reference. You'll have to listen, and I won't give it away. But they asked him about Joe Mixon, and he compared him to a very, very famous running back. And we shall see. I was like, that's going to be interesting to see that, Rob. So
all right, very nice. Well, I want to hop into what's brewing next week. There's just a handful, so we're going to get a lot of us next week. But 2018 Panini XR football, 2017-18. Panini Opulence Basketball, and if that doesn't say it all, more 17-18.
Are we like 100 days away from 2019 at this point?
I know there's still Flawless to come after this, and I think one more. And then 2018 Leaf autographed mini helmet. And obviously that's football, so that's cool. Like the mini helmet autographs, I've always loved those.
No, I've seriously contemplated buying in for a either division break or just for the Vikings, just to see some of those get pulled.
Yeah, I love those, and I love breakers that throw them in big football mixers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we plug them all the time, and this is probably a new drinking game, the Mojo game. But these guys, they'll do during the football season, they'll do like 50 box breaks.
Yep.
Right, and they'll throw in some mini helmets. And they have they'll go back to 15 and through 18. They'll have 3 or 4 years worth of product with some mini helmets, and it's just cool because watching them or they'll put the jerseys in. I always love those. Those are always fun to do. So let's get into where we love to hear ourselves talk. Infield chatter, our hobby talk section. I want to talk about Immaculate Collection and the Mickey Mantle that was posted around Twitter this week of a jersey. And at first we just saw the front of it, and the blue stripe didn't seem to match up with his playing days jerseys. And so we all were kind of like, man, it'd be great to see what the back of the card said, where the jersey came from. And
I got it popped up here.
It popped through. Yeah, Steph pulls it up. And it's from Cards from the Attic. And I like how he calls him Mike. And on the back of it, it's from an Old Timers Day jersey.
The enclosed Mickey Mantle Fantasy Camp used material provided by the Mantle Estate is guaranteed by Panini America, Inc.
So my question to you guys, if you pull a Mantle jersey and it's from a Fantasy Camp or an Old Timers Day, how do you feel versus if it was an actual Mantle jersey that he wore?
I mean, obviously you're going to want it from a actual game used event, not a fantasy camp, but still you're getting a connection to the game that you wouldn't have otherwise. And as long as they explicitly state that this is not from a 1950s New York Yankees game, and they explicitly state that this is from a fantasy camp that he ran after his retirement, I don't see a problem with it. Maybe I'm the odd one out.
No, I agree. I mean, a lot of it's transparency is what it comes down to. Is I want to. It's not like the Mark Ingram infamous shot where he just puts on 7 jerseys and takes them off. If it touched Mantle's skin and it was on, hey, it's a cool relic. In fact, since we had Rob in the chat room and we were talking about Sports Card Radio back in the day, I was on there one night. I called in because we were talking about Jerseygate, which was an old thing about Upper Deck and some Jeter jerseys, and my whole thought and my argument that night was, as long as it's a cool card, I want it in my collection. I'm okay as long as it specified what it is. If it didn't, touch the ground inside a Coliseum, okay, just don't lie to me as a collector, and I'm okay with that. In this case, it's a non-licensed product. You know, how far is Panini going to stretch to go get a Mantle game worn jersey? That's quite a lot of money, especially for Immaculate, which isn't the most expensive product. It's not cheap, but it's not national treasures.
One of my things is even too like a Mano polo, like a polo shirt that he would have worn. You know, he always had he was always out golfing, doing those kinds of things. Even that would be cool in something like this, or even a lesser product, like a Donruss or an Optic, something like that would just be neat. You know, it was mentioned here, bingo transparency. Just letting the collector know where it came from and giving us an idea, and that they did the right thing on it. So it's good to see. Like, that's all we need to know. And I still think it's a cool card. I mean, if it was, you know, a beer napkin that he wiped, no big deal. Like, right? Like, the Mick had a good time. We were talking about the best baseball movie years before the show, and this is a whole nother subject we could have on a show. But we brought up the movie 61. If you've not seen the HBO movie 61 with Billy Crystal and Thomas Jane and God, it's slipping my mind who played Maris. It's a good movie. You need to watch it. I bought it like a Walmart for like $5.
Brothers.
Barry Pepper played.
Yeah, Barry Pepper, and they did both those guys did a wonderful job. The guy that played Whitey Ford was awesome. If Whitey Ford was anywhere close to that, I don't know how those guys won games. To be honest, they had a ton of fun.
Michael Hall.
Oh, it was. You're right. You're right.
One point that our buddy Ken brought up in the chat room was, he said the problem with this kind of stuff is you don't know when you buy the box. So if you're going to feature, specific players on that checklist of, game worn materials or relics, it would be nice to know beforehand, especially if it affects the overall cost to consumer, is really what I'm after. If I'm spending, a multiplier of 2-3 times more than a comparable product because it's got a chance of a Mantle relic in there, I'd really like to know it's just like years ago, I think our buddy Brent was the one that pulled I believe it was a 1-of-1 patch, Ricky Henderson, and he was featured in a Yankees jersey on the picture, but it was a New York Mets patch. And he was irate because he's like, this just got devalued probably by 50% because you still get the Ricky Henderson collectors, but you have, as an A's collector, I wouldn't want that if it's got a Mets patch on it. So I can only imagine. So, there's a little bit of that consideration is, are these just Mickey Mantle relics? So if that, they have that release of Pete Rose years ago that was like 1 guaranteed auto per blaster or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd like to know if you had relics in that. I want to know that's game worn. I don't care if it's Reds, Phillies, Expos. I just want to know that he wore it in a game versus wearing a polo at one of his countless signings that he's done.
Yeah.
Well, and I pulled it up. My best example for this, my Ruth card. I didn't buy Diamond Kings expecting to get anything major. I bought it because I liked the design, and some of the relics that I'd seen out of breaks were looking cool. But pulling it, if I would have known that this would have specifically said game used material, yeah, I probably would have bought more. But as is, that's nice to know that it's not from a fantasy camp. It's specifically game used relic.
And who was that? Baby Ruth?
Some lady.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a baseball of his if you guys want to go out back and play afterwards.
Yeah, we can. Best baseball movie ever. And then there's the 40 auto booklet from Topps Luminaries that was pulled by Platinum Card Breaks. I already saw Ben's thoughts, and Steph had some thoughts about this card, but on Twitter. But guys, I think it's overkill. I think it's a neat idea, but man, if that was 4 cards with 10 autos, I think it's still really cool. Or if it's 5 cards with, you break it down and you have you do it by position and it's like 3 guys per card, first baseman from, and you have all the positions. I think that's really cool. But 40, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, if you have
I saw a similar one that got posted that had, I think, 8 cards. However, they split. So it's like left side pitcher, 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 hitter, right side hitter, 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 pitcher. Now, if you're going to do that, why are you not just going to have them split hitters on one side, pitchers on the other? Evenness, right? So for this set, all of those Hall of Famers, yeah, it's nice and that's great. However, to me, it seems like a sticker dump of the 70s, 80s players. Now, yeah, sure, some of these players are from before then, but I mean, I can make out, I think that's Judge. I think that's Albert Pujols. I think that's Jeter. So you have some recent players too. And I'm not saying that that's what it is. It's not a sticker dump, but it just seems like it. It's just all at once, a huge all at once. But it's still a gorgeous looking card. It seems like a show, not a showpiece, but a card store piece rather than a individual collector.
I tweeted that out. It needs to be at an LCS or something. So when I saw it on the checklist, I was like, oh man, what a card to own or pull. But at the same time, how do you display it? I'm going to show a dual patch, or excuse me, a dual auto that I had pulled, a booklet card. You know, it's a large case. It's, you know, comes on a display stand. I've got quite a few of them laying around the house from different years, but they're not the easiest to display, and it's one book. So this one here is basically 5 books connected because there's 10 individual cards. I'd be concerned that it might rip over time if it's displayed. I mean, you can't really move it around. It's going to take up a lot of real estate.
Yep.
I don't think any one of us would say, well, I wouldn't want to pull it. Sure, we would. But would you keep it versus selling it and cutting, you know, yourself your profits and
then
buying something more equitable for your personal collection?
Somebody who has enough money to actually buy that card, maybe they don't want, you know, 3/4 of the people that are on here. They only want, you know, the people that are on this first quarter. So I would agree with what someone said in chat, that the market for it is limited, and that you have to have a certain amount to actually buy it. You have to have somebody who actually wants every single, or even 50% of the players that are on it.
Well, we've talked before about market segment. Is you have collectors, then you have baseball card collectors, and then you have autograph collectors and high-end collectors, and so on and so forth. By the time you get to the people that could A, afford this, and B, would even consider spending that amount of resource, you know, I mean, let's say it's a $3,000 to $5,000 card. Yeah, I've got that in the bank account. Cool. Am I spending it on that, or am I buying something else with that money? You know, you're getting to a very, very select few people that would be in the market for that card. One of the points that was made, it's a great card to hit, terrible card to sell, from Christopher Torres. It's a great comment. It really is. Fantastic card to hit. Unless you're going to PC that thing or have a way to display it personally, it's probably going to sit on eBay for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fun to have and to show off for a while, you know. But it's just interesting. I just, you know, I think it's one of those pieces that, you know, they put out there, and it's not like there's a lot of them. It's just neat to see it pulled and see it, you know, see a photo of it and see all the great autographs on there. And I just think that if you spread that out through that product a little bit better, it's even cooler. But
when you get a card like Maury Wills, Ricky Henderson, and Lou Brock, you know, great stolen base, you know, or Brett and Boggs and Gwen, you know, great guys that could push for 400 in a season, you know, during the 80s. That's a great triple auto, or a team specific if you've got 3 Hall of Famers from a team. I'm all for that, but it's one single card. It's easy to display, and it's easy to sell if that's your thing. If you're a flipper, you know, ripper and flipper kind of a thing.
Yep. Well, talking about selling cards, I want to move on to a topic that I had with a couple people online this week: football cards. I think it was Drew's cards. We were talking about this. Football cards, the collectability compared to like baseball or basketball. And I've had this discussion with guys at my LCS too. You know, when football season comes around, the product's hot and the guys are there. And I know Doug and Mojo Briggs said this too, because they've done their repack, or they buy back cards and then they make their own product with it. And he was surprised at how cheap Le'Veon Bell rookie autos were compared to like other guys in other sports that aren't half the star he is, and they're way more. So, is the collectability of football cards the same as it is in baseball or basketball to you guys?
Well, I asked one of my multiple DM groups the same question, and they brought up the good point that for defensive players and really outside of running back, wide receiver, quarterback, the players just aren't there. And the collectability isn't there unless they're for your team or you follow them from college. And my buddy Robbie brought up a good point, stating that what set from football has actually appreciated since its release. And yeah, it stinks that Topps can't produce Topps football cards. And I know a lot of people pull for that just because of Topps' brand and marketing. But just in general, what sets actually appreciated in price since release?
You know, I was talking to Robbie. I think the three of us were actually talking. You can find him at Robbie T86.
I'll put his name in chat.
He asked that. You know, I had responded to that. Basically, if you're opening up football, unless you're hit a high end, rookie, if you get a Saquon Barkley or something along those lines, you're going to be able to move him immediately. But at least in my limited knowledge, because I don't collect football, I don't really follow the football market very well. A lot of that's just going to be PC stuff. You're probably not going to get a big return. The market worth of it's probably not going to be very steady and consistent, like say collecting, vintage Mickey Mantle would, where you're probably going to pay top dollar, but you'll always be able to kind of get top dollar, whatever the word is at that moment.
Why do you think it's different? Like football collectability is different than, let's say, baseball or basketball collectability.
Well, and one of the points they brought up is it just me, and a point that I agree with, or do the football players' autographs look worse than any of the other sports as far as the actual penmanship?
No, that's a good point. One thing that I thought about was, baseball has the rich history. If you pull a Mike Trout, a Bryce Harper, is this guy going to be the next blank? Whether it's, Mantle, Mays, you're always comparing these guys to the last guy. If I pull a Myles Garrett, okay, he's the next Reggie White. Well, where's the Reggie White collectability? And I think a lot of it's that comparative analysis where, Myles Garrett may have a market today, but even though if he's a phenomenal Hall of Fame type player, is he somebody that you can collect year in, year out? Whenever a guy like Mike Trout's on a checklist, he's going to be in the top, 2-3 names on that checklist of collectability. Outside of guys like maybe, Brady and Rodgers, the quarterbacks, running backs come and go.
Yep. And it says something that
is it the longevity of the guys?
That's exactly what I was about to hit on. In baseball, it may take longer for them to actually get to the major leagues versus, hockey where they're 18, 19, fresh out of the Quebec junior minors, or, in college when they're 21, fresh out of college. You might see someone 25, 26, fresh out of college a few years later. But baseball seems to have a longer durability and longevity to your career if you're decent versus, say, football, where if you're a running back and you don't produce for 2-3 years, you're gone.
Well, according to Statista.com, the average NFL career is 3.3 years. MLB is
3-4.
So, yeah, you're almost getting twice as much.
Well, and to basketball, it was brought up in the chat, overseas is very collectible.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the Asian market, basketball is super hot.
Mm-hmm.
Super duper hot. And
I know they're just now have been setting up a pretty good rival league to the NBA. Now, it's not going to have the market share and whatnot, but the leagues over there do draw a good amount of people. And even if you think about it, Asia has like the top amount of people living in one region, or is it like number 2? So there's a lot of people there, not necessarily a lot of money, but that will go to games or that will spend money on individual cards if that's their draw.
Yeah. I just think I think just that in quarterbacks really are the only ones in football that play over 10 years, but football players tend to get in more issues, whether it's politics or domestic or whatever, during or after their careers, more than other sports. And I think that also hurts it. Like, if I'm going to invest in this guy, how do I know that, 5 years, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, Jay, that you're going to end up being this other person, or, and then the bottom falls out of your collection.
Marketability is another thing too. Is years ago, I had read a piece about, baseball versus basketball, which does a great job marketing their players. Baseball is probably the least effective as far as marketing individual players. But the biggest problem with the NFL is they wear helmets. A lot of these players are hard to recognize to the casual fan because you don't necessarily recognize them. Sure, we know Manning's face because he's been on every commercial for the last decade. So there's a finite amount of guys that we can all name by face. But even, you go 7, 8 guys deep on your own favorite team roster. If you put them in a lineup, would you be able to pick them out? You can if you look at the back of their jersey, or maybe their jersey numbers. But there's a lot of guys that we don't know. And I don't know if that helps or hurts, collectability, or if it's a factor whatsoever. But one point brought up in our chat room was about the political thing. That football's been a lot more political than the other sports over the last, 2 to 3 seasons. Robbie's question earlier that Kevin and I were talking about was in the last 10 years. Is anything appreciated? Probably not.
No, and I can tell you, is like, I'm going back and I'm buying. We talked about this last week. I started collecting 80s football sets in the last month or so because I found a couple cheap ones, and I'm like, you know what? I never really owned a lot of football growing up. Just wasn't my thing, and man, I was picking up, an 80. I picked up a 84 top set or 83 top set for not that much, and it had, it has Elway and Marino in there and Dickerson, Hall of Famers, and I paid maybe like $60 for it at a show, and it's in great shape. I picked up a nice Montana rookie the other day, and for nothing. I mean, for a couple of blaster prices and boxes. I mean, it's ridiculous on what this stuff is. And you look at Montana's one of the best quarterbacks. If you were to look and compare him to somebody from the same era in baseball, like even like, let's say, a Nolan Ryan that played for a long time, his rookie's a few $100, and Montana's, in the same condition is.
You mean the Jerry Koosman rookie?
There you go. The Jerry Koosman rookie is like 30% less, and so it's one of those things. Like, I don't know. I don't ever see it improving though either. I don't see it, and I don't want to see. Part of me stopped collecting football in 2015 because after that, Topps lost the license, and every time I bought a Panini product, it just felt, no matter what it was, what I purchased, and I'm not purchased the high end, I purchased the mid-level, anywhere from $100 to $150 box of cards. I never felt that any of those products were any different or looked any different from the year before, really made me want to collect football anymore. And you can say that about Topps baseball and whatever, and I'm a Topps homer, whatever you want to say. But I just felt that's the way I felt when I'd open a box. I was always just disappointed.
So let me ask you this as a follow-up. Hypothetically, if we agreed that the top 3 reasons the NFL is not collectible would be the longevity of players, the fact that they're hidden behind masks, and the fact that their contracts are not guaranteed. So these guys sign multi-year deals, and then they might be gone the next year. Hypothetically, if those were the 3 reasons we agreed upon, you asked him, do we see it changing? Well, no, because if those are the 3 reasons, those aren't going to change.
Right.
If it had to do with a licensing agreement or, the products that are being put out or et cetera, that's something that theoretically could change. Yes, we have to leave that up to, Topps, Panini, et cetera, who are producing these cards. But if it's specific to the sport and that's why it doesn't translate to the hobby, that's not changing. Now, I know, it's subjective as to whether or not those are the reasons, but just under the hypothetical world, it may not be something that Panini could control. It's collectors that just don't have the same level of interest.
Yeah, it just doesn't last. And then the more collectors I talk about it too, I mean, it's fun to have those cool cards and pick them up, but just know that those guys that are buying Saquon today for a few $100s for his autograph, you're probably buying almost at the top of the market.
Right.
Football is really the best time to buy football is in March, and then like June, July, and August. You don't want to really buy in April or May because depending on when the draft is, it gets the talk back up. And in February, you still have the Super Bowl, so you have a little bit of a hangover into football. There's just a limited time you go buy football, and you can get it pretty cheap. And the thing is you go look in your hobby shop, go to a local store, or even go to Walmart or Target and look at the discounted blasters that they have, or all the old wax that is your LCS, and you'll notice there's a lot of old football stuff, and the prices are reasonable. And that just tells you that they're sitting on this and they need to move it, and hey, it might be below my cost, or it just tells you like the stuff doesn't move.
So Chris Torres brought up another point in the chat room about brand recognition. So one product, what is the one Topps product you'd want if you could only have one as a collector? You're probably going to say Flagship. Why? Because Flagship's been around forever, right? Since '52. So the question is, and I saw it brought up on Twitter the other day. 51 if you want to talk about the blue and red backs. But as we know it, 52 is traditionally considered the first year of Topps. So here's the thing: what is football Flagship?
Well, I'm glad you asked this. So I asked this. So I had this little collection. I was collecting '1 draft picks from Topps football years ago, and it's when I started getting back into the hobby. And so every #1 pick from 70 through 15 I have. I don't. Oh, I'm sorry, 71. I don't have Bradshaw. I don't have OJ. I'm missing those guys. So when they stopped making it, I asked Tracy Hackler on Twitter, what product is your version of Topps Flagship football that I should collect to continue on this now that you guys have the license? He named 4 products.
Exactly.
And, that's fine. He named like Score, Contenders, Prism.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the other one was. But it's like, okay, well, yeah. I don't know if it was Don, but I was like, oh, well, it doesn't equate. Like it doesn't, to me, it doesn't line up. It's probably, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do. And I'm probably going to do Contenders.
Contenders is probably the best bet.
The most popular one, and it's cool. I like the little ticket things, but there isn't one. There isn't that one product that you go, man, those are the base football cards you go out and collect, and it tells you about the season, it tells you about the players, it tells you what 2018 looked like. Flagship does that for Topps.
And here's the other question: is Flagship will be around in 2019 and 20? So long as Topps has a license, Flagship is here to stay.
It tells a story.
Yeah, if Contenders is your choice, there is no. I would have no faith as a collector that Contenders is going to be around in 2025. So therefore, I know, Tim, that you have a checklist of all the Topps rookie cards that you would like to collect throughout the years, dating back at least to the mid 50s until they start to get, Hank Aaron, Sandy Koufax start to get super expensive. But if you start around, say, 1960 and move forward, you theoretically could grab at least a low grade of all the players, and you could work your way up to 2018 because there's consistency there. There's
continuity. Yeah.
And that's a big point that Chris made up, and I know that we, it was you on Twitter talking about it, is what's that product for football and basketball? They don't have the same history.
And basketball has one, and it's the Prism Silvers that are kind of like that go-to rookie card now that's not an autograph, that's not a numbered card. That's kind of taken over, but again, it's a chrome or chromium or whatever they could call it type card. We're just talking a straight base card. And right. Steph, you're there. You're Mr. Dallas. You're living in the heartland there. Tell us, what do you think it is?
I mean, and maybe this is just me carrying it over from baseball, but of the Panini products, I would agree with Bertrand and myself. Donner Space. If you're talking a quote unquote flagship for Panini football, it's got to be Donner's. It's a huge product. There's plenty of inserts. The autos are there. I mean, yeah, sure, it's not going to have your huge ultra major names that the draft sets that they release later on, or it's not going to be their huger relics that they release. It's not going to be at triple threads, but for their marketability and for their longevity, I would argue that Donruss, since they've had the license, is their major title. Now, I wish, and I'm going to agree with Robbie on this, I wish they might bring back the Score brand as a base set, and maybe that's something they're looking into or they've had on the back burner as a potential outside of being an insert set. But
I mean, they've Score football. It's just that they're in college uniforms. They're not in their NFL uniforms because it comes out right about the time of the draft.
The simple fact
maybe that's what I meant.
The simple fact that we're debating this, Rob's point is perfect. He says, I vote Donruss. Okay, so we don't know as a collective, hobby which one it is. We're voting for Donruss or we're voting for contenders. It shouldn't be up for debate, which speaks to Chris's point about the brand recognition. There isn't that go-to. It's not unilaterally accepted that flagship is currently and forever has been, just like the silver chromiums for basketball. If it's universally accepted that Donruss it is, or contenders, then there you go. Tracy should have been able to say one answer and one answer alone to no fault of his own.
Right.
That's what's killing the collectability and the longevity of this stuff. That's why I made that comment to Robbie on Twitter earlier. If you're going to buy football, enjoy your break, enjoy your cards. It's probably going to be a PC item unless you get that big name like Barkley right now or any one of the 5 first-round quarterbacks, which might have a quick flip value.
Yeah.
Right.
But, it's one of those things. So it's an interesting topic. I mean, we can go a lot more in depth on it, I think, but it's just interesting that the football's there where he hit football season after week 1 and the Colts. Oh, what a bad loss, Jack Doyle.
What's a loss?
Oh, just wait. The loss is what, yeah. Remember what Philly did to the Vikes in the playoffs? Oh,
I don't want to talk about that.
I also want to move on to a topic, and this goes on to something we put out earlier. We're going to start doing Dime Box. It's going to be called Dime Box something or others. Dime Box advice.
Name in progress.
Yeah, name's work in progress. If you have we're going to do like some 10-minute short videos with 1, 2, all 3 of us are on our own that we're going to post to our YouTube page and share out, just talking about certain things related to the hobby and something that we're passionate about, maybe that we don't have time for on the show.
No, not necessarily a quote-unquote vlog segment, but something similar for people that are used to YouTube terminology. Yep. Where, for example, this weekend I have 2 shows up in Frisco, Texas, that I very well may just turn on my phone and start recording. Now, whether I bring in Ben or Tim here and get their advice as I go through a couple dime boxes or, my general impression of the show, it's kind of what the idea that we've been throwing around.
Yeah. And just kind of, things, and questions people have thrown to us about certain things that we do with our collections. So this is one of the topics, and I know that Ben got into surprisingly a deep conversation on Twitter about this.
Really our feelings, more in my case, feeling.
Yeah, value versus worth. Like, what's the difference between value and worth? Can be semantics. It can mean different. They can mean different things to different people. But I just want to see how you guys feel about it. I want to go to Steph first, and then I'm going to come back, and then we're going to go to Ben at the end because I know he's going to have a lot to say on it. And Ben, remember, we're going to just a brief overview because I know you want to do something independent of it and go into more detail.
I don't speak brief. Okay, go ahead, Steph.
As he starts to not speak brief. No, I get that Ben's opinionated on this, and he's got his degrees to back it up. value versus worth. I get that it has each word in the dictionary has its own definition, so they are different, separate things. Obviously, what I value may not necessarily be worth anything to you. However, what it's worth in a quote unquote price guide is what it's actually worth. So, an argument that I saw pointed out by someone, I may value my 1968, 1969 red cherry apple Camaro that my uncle has in a barn, deceased, rest in peace, a whole lot more than you do. Now, if I tell you that it had 0 miles and it was only put in the barn in 1970 and nobody ever touched it since, yeah, it's probably going to skyrocket its worth rather, just because it hasn't been driven and that it hasn't moved and it has had general maintenance. However, to me, it's worth more because it's my uncle's. It's been at the family gravel pit since 1970, stored in pristine condition, and it's sitting there. Now, yeah, sure, it'd be nice to drive that Camaro, but that's kind of where I see the value versus worth. It's worth a certain amount, but its value to me is worth more than what its worth is per price, per the Kelley Blue Book price value that they would assign to it.
Yes. And I'm right along there. I mean, there's always those personal connections to something that you own that make it a priceless item, right? And it could be a $10 book someone bought you, but the note that they wrote inside of it means the world to you, and you would trade almost everything but your life to keep that book. I just think sometimes that the people don't understand that, or they don't have anything in their life that has value to them, and all they see is monetary value in things, and that's all they see, and that's just the way they are.
Well, so and let me touch up on that. I spoke with Tim about it earlier, but Ben, I may not be on the show next week. Touching on value versus worth. My grandmother, 85 years old, had just moved out of her house, duplex, and she's planning to split time between her 3 kids. 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months in Manitoba, where she's from, where her uncle, her brothers and sisters live, 3 months with the other kid. However, as she's been moving out, she's been piecing out, hey, I know you really appreciate this blanket. I would like you to have it. I know that you really appreciate this watch that I had. It's yours. To you, a single solitary watch for that may not be important. It may only be worth, $100. But to me, that's my grandmother's watch. That's worth more than anything in the world. And unfortunately, she's going under surgery for a cancer scare. Prayers with her. She's going under the 17th, so I hope to be on the show next week. No guarantees. But I would give any amount of dollars to have everything that she has. To me, it's worth more than for you to buy the watch for $100, $50, $125, whatever price you might assign to it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And then there's those things, and there's also things in my as we talk about nonsense stuff like our baseball cards, right?
Sure.
There are a handful of things like I have a box, a monster box of like 5,087 tops, right? Which God, everybody has, and everybody has their mixed feelings about it. But there is a special box that has my dad wrote 1987 tops complete set, has a set in there, and he's no longer here, and it's a set we built together, and it's in my closet here, and I have a handful of 87 top sets, but that's the one I will never get rid of, because that's the first year we collected together. That's the first set we put together. It means so much to me when people are buying them for $5 or $6 or whatever.
You value it more than
I value way more than that. Yeah. So
right.
As so we're Ben, tell us how we're going to Ben.
All right, let's roll these sleeves up, boys.
Hey, real quick. We said earlier, Royals, please lose. They lost in extra innings tonight to the White Sox. Thanks for listening, fellas. Keep it up.
Which, considering the White Sox are the third team right now in the third spot to get that third
we're locking in that second pick in the draft.
Okay, so here we go. I'll keep it super short because I would like to do like a one of our little 10-minute videos on it. People often confuse the words value and worth, and the reason is we always talk about market value. Value gets often confused. By definition, value is personal. It's valuable to me because it's something that I appreciate, much like Stefan was referring to Grandma's things. Worth is its market worth. That brand new car is worth $10,000. If it's my first car, it becomes more valuable to me. I'm wearing a wedding ring. Let's say it cost $100 at retail, right? It's a $100 ring. To me, it's invaluable because my wife gave it to me, and it symbolizes our relationship. So It's valuable to me. If I were to die tomorrow, she would probably want to keep it. I have a W ring that I wear on my pinky that she's like, I love that ring, and I hope you'll give it to me. It should something ever happen to you. It's valuable because of the memory associated with it. I've got my grandpa's belt buckle, and I've got my grandpa's bowling ball and a piece of china from my grandma. Those are valuable to me. What's their market worth? I don't know because I'm not selling it. I got into a discussion the other day on Twitter with a guy who wasn't quite understanding that I value this hobby because it's fun for me. I'm not. He's like, he came out and he's like, Ben, you're collecting Topps Living cards. You don't care if they appreciate in value, and I said I don't. And here's why. Value and worth. Okay, it's essentially like a credit score, right? Credit score is completely irrelevant unless you're looking to borrow or finance something, right? Doesn't matter if your credit score is 500 or if it's 850. Unless you have to go to a bank and ask for a loan, doesn't matter what it is. Sure, it helps to have that in your back pocket. So in other words, my collection is valuable to me because those are cards I've enjoyed collecting and putting them together. There's a hard cost that cost me money when I bought them originally. Have some appreciated? Sure. Have some depreciated? Sure. But the bottom line is it doesn't matter what they're valued at unless I've got to sell them on the open market. At that day, then that's when I will care what they're worth in the open market. However, if I have to go sell them tomorrow because of an emergency, odds are I'm not getting their market worth anyway. I'm getting whatever I can get today, which very well might be 10 cents on the dollar out of desperation. So when it comes down to worth versus value, it's really, it can be semantics. Those words are often interchanged. I honestly think that a lot of times people are confused as to the difference. One being very personal. My most valuable card is my 1986 Topps Eric Davis. First card I pulled of any significant worth out of a pack at the age of 7. It's not my most expensive card. I've got plenty of cards that are worth more on the open market. So really it comes down to, what's most valuable to us is, I stopped buying, Valentine's Day cards and anniversary cards. I hand draw them, and they're stick people and they're color crayons. But Heather has them, all over our bedroom because she appreciates them more because I put time and thought into them. And a lot of them are personal jokes and stuff that
I'm going to steal that idea.
But are you coloring within the lines?
No, I know it's horrible, dude. I'll show you guys some of them. They're just as bad as Tim singing, but it comes from a place of love. I thought about you, and I put that effort into it.
Right.
I can go buy. I can line up just like every other dude on Valentine's Day with my flowers and my chocolates and my card, and you got to wipe the same card that I got. How is that personal? It's more valuable. It's the emotional attachment to it. And that's why valuable is different than worth. Everything we own is worth something. It may not be worth very much, like your Camaro, right? Say the Kelly Blue worth is $1,000, and you're like, dude, you can come give me $2,000, twice the value. That's the best economic deal you could make. And you would say no. Now it's different if you're desperate, but you would say no because it means something to Stefan. Right. And much like Tim and I had a conversation about some cards, and those cards that he collected with his dad are very personal for him. Doesn't matter what they're worth. Hell, we saw a 1985 Topps set the other day, Sharp, at a card shop for, what was it, like $40 or $50? $40? all right, we can spend $40 all day long. What makes his set valuable is what the emotions that he has attached to it. And now he can share that with his son. When Robbie gets old enough, he can say, hey, your grandpa and I collected these. You build that memory with him now. And then someday he'll be like, hey, your grandpa Tim and I did this and great grandpa, and pass it down. That's valuable. You can't put a price tag on that. Worth you can. I kept it.
And,
look at that.
Elaborating another point. One of the things that she's gifted me is a potato, well, not necessarily potato, but a rolling pin. Now, you might go to every estate sale and spend $1 on a rolling pin, maybe, if it doesn't get donated. However, to me, that rolling pin is every pierogi that she's made for me. That's every cookie sheet that she's made for me. That's value to me over what it's quote unquote worth. It might be worth $1 on eBay.
You can go buy one.
But that's specifically one of the things that I asked for was her fucking rolling pin because it has that value to me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Value personalized for you. You can't put a price tag on that. You can't. Right. I mean, my son Bentley had like one of those little blow up things that you bounced on, and his popped because he kept taking it to his daycare. And I told him, I said, it's going to get something on it and it's going to pop because it's made out of, latex or whatever. And I had to buy him another one. And we planned on putting that one up for him because he talked to that thing like it was his best friend. And that thing was real to him. He'd tell us all the time about the conversations that they would have. It doesn't matter that it's a $20 piece of rubber or latex that we bought at the Toys R Us back in the old days when that existed.
Rest in peace, Toys R Us.
Yes. I've had to buy 2 of those suckers at $20 a piece, but it's well worth it because of the value. I mean, there was one time years ago, my daughter had a stuffed animal. She left it at a park on the other side of town. I'm heading home to watch my Spurs in the playoffs. And she gets in the back seat. She's about 3 years old. And she starts crying, Daddy, I'm never going to see my best friend again. And I'm like, all right, getting on the freeway. I'm going over to the park, and I'm going to search that park until I find that damn toy. Right. And luckily, my ex-wife had some family because it was an event for her, and she's like, we found it. But there's no amount of money I could have put on finding that thing for her that day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Valuable. Value versus worth. There is a significant difference between the two words. Sometimes they kind of overlap, especially when we talk about market value, because those two words are often.
It all goes back to one of the statements my wife had. I always joke with her about this. Be better. Like on Twitter, like be better, be a better person, be smarter. Listen to other people. I think we're in a spot in this country and on social media where if Ben likes something that I don't like, then I hate Ben, and I'm gonna do whatever.
Ben likes things.
No, he doesn't. I mean, it's easy because but what I'm saying is everybody gets on these things, and it's like, just be better and be able to understand two sides of a story. You'll be a lot better off for it. You'll sleep better. I want to move on to a new segment we have. It's like murder, Mary, or FM, whatever that is. But
MFK.
It's MFK. There we go. All you guys know what that is. We're gonna go collect, hoard, and sell. So all of us is gonna all of it. We're all gonna have something we're gonna say collect, something we all want to hoard, and something we'd all sell. I'm gonna let Steph lead off here.
So in the theory of the original, where you name like,
if I said Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, and then
Marilyn Monroe,
Caitlyn Jenner.
So you would choose someone that you would marry, someone that you would murder, and someone that you would
take to bed.
Have a nice relations with.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
Did have relationships with that woman.
Or supposed.
Good cigar.
But for this, we're gonna go collect, hoard, and sell.
Yes.
My sell would be modern cards. I personally have all but stopped buying new boxes. Now I'll buy an occasional blaster here or there, and don't get me started on Diamond Kings. But for those that collect Prism, Optic, Elite Extra Edition or Topps Chrome or any of those, I would immediately sell those outside of your personal collection, just because there's no real need for it to be in my collection. If someone wants to pay $1 for it tomorrow, or if someone wants to pay me $125 for it tomorrow, good, it's gone. It's out of my house. I don't need it anymore.
Where are you going to? Yeah.
For my hoard, I would definitely work on stocking up on vintage. If you can find it for a discount and hold on to it for now, I think vintage prices, hold their price, just because Mickey Mantle can't go out tomorrow and crash his car and pass away. His prices aren't going to raise. His prices aren't going to drop outside of some huge extraneous revelation tomorrow. The vintage cards, Ty Cobb cards, are worth what they're worth, and yes, value or otherwise. They can only go up. And as far as collecting, my argument would be collect what you want. If you want to collect a Twins collection, collect it. If you want to collect only Miguel Sano, collect that. If you want to collect just 2015 Panini Diamond Kings base cards, collect that. Collect whatever you want. I mean, I'm not a person to tell you you must only buy Topps cards or you must only buy Panini cards. If you want to collect Oakland A's cards for whatever fucking reason, collect those.
It's going to be wintertime. You got to have something to start the fire with.
If you want to collect the Tampa Bay Rays, Devil Rays, specifically just the Devil Rays collection,
that's
go
right.
ahead and collect those.
Or just the Anaheim Angels era when they look
exactly
like the Angels in the outfield jerseys.
So Ben, what are yours? Who's your collect, hoard, and sell?
I think a lot of us are going to kind of overlap a little bit here. If you're looking for a new avenue in your collecting, consider pre-war. I know we've had a couple conversations on Twitter around this, specifically tobacco cards. A book that I highly recommend, and Ken had tweeted out an old blog of his about baseball card books. A really good book is The Card by Michael O'Keefe. It's fantastic. It's about Bill Mastro.
Yep.
And the Gretzky card, the infamous Wagner. It's got a lot of good information about Wagner.
Hey, and real quick, before you go any farther, everybody, do us a favor. You helped us. Let's help Ken. He has his YouTube page. We're trying to get him to 100. I think he's around 60 something. Beans Baseball Card Blog on YouTube. I'll send out the link later tonight to follow. Steph, if you know what it is and drop it in the chat, that'd be great.
I did a bit ago. I'll drop it again here.
Awesome. Let's get him to 100. He's a really good thing for the hobby. He retweets. If you don't follow him at Beans Baseball Card Blog on Twitter, he retweets a ton of blogs, all relating to hobby, all on good topics. So definitely a good follow and a YouTube subscribe there. So I'm sorry, Ben. Go ahead. Just want to get that out there.
No, that's fine because it's right up the alley. I mean, he does have a lot of great hobby-related blogs that are all well written.
And not to mention, he picked up, to your point, on vintage pre-war cards. He picked up 2 T206s at the card show two Sundays ago. He sold his entire most of his entire modern hockey collection for 2 T206s from 1911.
The tobacco cards, anything, all the caramel cards and stuff like that, the pre-1920 stuff, it's fun to collect. You can get it all in low grade. There's, $20 bill, get you one once in a while. They're fun to have in your collection. So if you're looking for something new that maybe is not on your radar, I would definitely consider collecting that. As far as hoarding, a lot of people that know me know I've recently, over the last, 6 or so months, gotten into hoarding Mark McGwire rookies from 1987. And it's fun. Find a player that you've always enjoyed. Doesn't have to be a superstar and a Hall of Famer. Maybe it's just that guy. I grew up idolizing Mike Gallego of the A's because that's kind of what I was. I was a guy that played some defense, played multiple positions in Little League and high school, and didn't have a lot of power. And then that became Cliff Pennington, and then it became Mark Ellis, and now it's Chad Pinder. They're the guys that are the glue that holds teams together. I think every team needs one or two of those guys that can play 7 positions. And you know, hoard a player does not have to be an expensive player. You know, we're not all talking about endorsing Mickey Mantle collections and Mike Trouts. Pick a player. You know, our friend Jenny has a Miguel Sano. If you need a home for your Sano cards, they're definitely welcome over at her house. You know, but that's what I personally hoard. Maybe that's not for you, but you know, pick a guy, and, you know, and then as far as sell, you know, I definitely would sell off, you know, any popular player, whatever the popular player is, whether it's Acuna or Albies, Ohtani. If you pull one right now, sell it now, even if you leave a little meat on the bone, because it's like playing the stock market, because that's what this modern day prospecting is. You know, it's better to sell too soon, kind of the Bill Belichick school of thoughts. Better to sell 1 year too early than 1 year too late. You know, that Ohtani Superfractor goes to auction probably a couple of weeks later than it should have, and it's going to cost the you know, the owner a lot of money. You know, especially if it's not your cup of tea. If you open up a box and you pull an Acuna auto and you're like, it's not my guy, cool, sell it and flip it for something that you do collect, that you can appreciate in your collection more. And you know, if that appreciates twice as much, hey, then that's what happens. It's luck of the draw. You don't know.
So what's it going to take for you to super collect Kevin Mensch?
So apparently I look like Kevin Mensch.
Hey, so, put that back up there real quick, Steph.
Yep, I hit the wrong button.
So, you know, whether it's my physique, you know, and what's funny about that, I was telling the guys before the show started, if you're not following along to see it visually, the 2004 Upper Deck Kevin Mensch, apparently we have a striking resemblance to the point where I showed it to my wife.
He kind of looks like a little person.
Well, I am only 5'0" nothing.
Yeah, but this photo
Angela's taller than you.
If you have any 2004 Upper Deck Kevin Mensch cards, set those with your 87 Maguires and send them my way. I'm going to make a blanket or something out of them for my wife, because I said, hey, do I look like this guy? And she's
That's
like,
awesome.
No. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. And
that's a yes.
I was so getting ready to tell my boys right here when they're like, look at Ben. Ha, he played for the Rangers. And I was like, you sons of gun. Kind of look like me.
So real quick, just an update on that Superfractor. It's still sitting at $22,795 as we were last week at the show. There's still 7 days and 21 hours left to go. Only 11 bits, so it's exactly the same spot we left it at last week. So
interesting.
And I think it'll come down to that last day, hours, to see any changes. So on Mine Collect, Hoard, and Sell, I'm going to start with my sell. It'd be sell Shohei Ohtani, sell Saquon Barkley, sell DeAndre Ayton, all right now. You're going to hit the peak, especially with Barkley. He had a good first week here. Sell, and then go and buy the guys you want, or wait and buy him back later this offseason. My collect would be Juan Soto. This teenager is good. He's gonna drive Topps update box prices a handful of dollars. I don't think it's gonna blow it out where we're not being able to buy it, but he's going to be an update. He just signed with Topps to do autographs. Is that the reason why Archives has been pushed out? Maybe, but for one guy, I don't know. But collect him, buy him now. I was picking up some of the Archives rookies for a couple of bucks. I picked up some of his Topps Living for a couple of bucks just to have, because I have a feeling that this guy could be the real deal. And when Mr. Harper is no longer in Washington next year, he and Robles will be the future of that team. And he could be the guy. So that's one guy we could go after. And I'm along with Steph, Hoard Vintage. I would even just say pre-85 stuff, like 80, anything like 84, 83, 82. Boxes, vending boxes, packs, cellos, whatever you can find that's unopened of that stuff, do it. Buy sets. You can usually find sets pretty cheap of this stuff. Go back in the 70s, pretty solid condition cards as rookies. those Hall of Famers or All Stars back in the day. Those are the guys you want to get. I'm building those sets. I love them. It's so much fun to go to a show, and have a list and hunt down 1974 tops. And you walk out and you've gone through these bins and you walk out with a fistful of 75 tops or 74 tops, and put them in the binder with your set or your box. There's something feeling about that that's great. The vintage hunt, and you spent, $25-$30.
Why you gotta knock 87?
I love
Why
87.
It's gonna be 85.
And when you look at it like this, tomorrow I'm going to go to work and I'm going to buy myself some McDonald's because obviously, my diet's not the best. But if that costs me $9 and then I go to the Starbucks and that's $5, that's $14. Or if I make myself a healthier, lunch at home for say $2 or $3, I've netted $11. You do that over the course of a week, you could pick up some vintage for your collection, and you haven't spent any money that you weren't already going to spend. You've just re-diversified it. You're spending it elsewhere. If I gave you $50 and said, "Hey, this is your lunch budget for the week," eat some peanut butter and jellies all week. It's going to cost you, $8 to $10. And you got $40 to spend. Over the course of a month, there's $160. When people say I can't afford to go on vacation, yes, you can. You just have to look at your finances a little different. And we're all guilty of convenience.
Well, one thing that I did, and I kind of stopped doing this after I spent the money, but I started at the beginning of the year, and we all do resolutions, right? And they only last so long most of the time. But anytime I made a purchase, a baseball or trading card related purchase, whether it was a card, it was a box, it was supplies, whatever it was, I set $1 aside every time. Or if I got a little scratcher lotto ticket and I won $3, right? I put it away. Or if I found $20 in a pair of pants that I hadn't worn in a while, I put it in there. All of a sudden I had a few $100s within the first few months of the year. And I was able to buy a 2011 Topps Update set. A set I never thought I was going to be able to afford.
You're welcome.
Yes. I bought it from a very nice gentleman.
You have another one laying around, Stefan?
It was a very easy transaction. And I was very thankful to be able to buy it. But I was like, man, I'll never get this set. It'll be the one set I'll never have. And I was really kind of pissed I didn't buy it 3 years ago. It was $150. But I was able to, I set that money aside just easily. And I do this with my change. I throw in this big bucket. And then once it gets, pretty full, I go and dump it out. And when there's a card show coming around, and I go have some extra fun with it. So some fun things to do in collecting. Fellas, we're getting ready to end tonight. We've had a great show. We've hit our 90-minute mark. As we try to stay to an hour, we just can't. We're at 90 minutes or so. I miss our fourth horseman this week, Mr. Cracknell. So great to have him on last week. I was really excited to see. We were talking about Cardboard Connection Radio, and Rob was I loved all those guys, but Rob was one of my favorites. The voice of the collector is in our chat. That's awesome. I got so pumped.
Yep.
So pumped about that. His show's tomorrow night.
Well, if Rob's
check them out.
If Rob's listening still, we might have to hit him up on the DM and see if he'd be interested in coming on and talking with us. Maybe in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, because I can tell you when I first started getting collecting, I got on the Twitter, and I found I was told about that show and I would listen, and it was really insightful on what's up, what's new, what to collect, how certain things, and it was great. I loved it. I thought it was and when it went away, I was really sad because it was the one show that I really enjoyed listening to every week, and so it's glad that those guys are out doing their thing, but to hear Robin having in the chat was pretty cool. So
no, I was right there with you. I think you and I spent a lot of times because we talked about this in the past that we live locally, and I think Cardboard Connection might have been that first step to us starting to talk more. And through Twitter, it's kind of funny how the world works. But yeah, Doug and Rob and I forget who all.
David Wright.
David Wright was on there.
David Wright, yeah.
Yeah, and Russ Cohen.
Yeah, they're all good dudes, and I got back into the hobby around 2010. I caught their show around 2012ish, and I'd listen religiously. I mean, I thought it was a great show, good insight, it was diverse, and I kind of got away from it, and then I guess it went off
Because
the air.
they had a Wednesday and a Friday show, right?
They did,
so,
and, yeah, and I used to listen to the Wednesday night ones because it was easier for me. But I called in quite a few times, and
I won something from an artist, and it happened to be a hand drawn boxer picture, and I actually own a boxer.
was it
no idea
Brian
what that
Kong?
was. What's up?
Brian Kong?
No, a Jared. Oh gosh, it's out in the family when I go grab it. But yeah, and he wrote a handwritten note back to me. It was great, and it was about naming some of the guys from the Big Red Machine. I was like, oh, that's easy. Let me call in and knock this out real fast. But it was super cool.
Yeah, no. Rob's a good dude, and we'll definitely reach out to him. And again, listen to the Hype Mojo Breaks podcast. I think like episode 57 or something from today. Rob,
58. They were on Wednesday afternoons at 2 p.m.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to catch it. I didn't catch it in its entirety. I only heard Rob on there for about five or 6 minutes. I was working, so I'm definitely personally going to give it a listen to tomorrow if I get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate Rob's insight and his contribution in the chat room tonight. And we'll definitely
and all of you guys too. I noticed there was you're talking about Christopher, and I didn't realize that as I pulled it up here. We've been tweeting back and forth at CRT_sports cards on Twitter.
I didn't know that was Chris Torres. Oh,
yeah. He's got that Ginter X Mariners thing going on, and if you've not seen this dude's Ginter X Mariners thing, it's legit.
I'll have to go check it out.
I'm gonna put his thing here in Twitter or in the chat. We'll send out. I'll send out a tweet here in a little bit referencing him as well. But no, just all the participation. I mean, Ken's in there tonight. We had Jenny's in there. Aaron K. Thank you very much. We appreciate the feedback. And if you guys want us here to talk about certain things, different topics, like I said, we're always welcome for ideas. And this is your show as much as ours. And we might even take those little 10-minute segments we're talking about doing and inviting a collector to come speak with us and how they collect and how they got into it and tell their story a little bit. I think that would be fun too. And if you want to be part of that, always hit us up. At About the Cards on Twitter. You can follow Ben at Our Trading Card, Steph at Junk Wax, and me at Big Shep 79. And hit us up and say, hey, DM whatever. Hey, I want to be part of the show. I have this idea. Full credit. Come on, we can do it together. We're not elitist. We want to spread the hobby. So
doing the 10-minute segments, I think, is definitely going to allow us to have a lot more collectors on. Throughout the week and at the convenience of everyone. And I think it's going to grow the hobby. And that's really what we're after. Grow the hobby and make this a fun place for us to collect. Whether you're collecting for value or worth, it doesn't matter. Everyone is welcome. Just collect what you like and share with everybody. That's what's fun, is seeing what other people collect. I was just looking up Chris's Mariners Ginter X. That's ridiculous because he's got a bunch of the red minis, which are numbered out of 5, and he's got multiples of each player. That's impressive, and that's what's fun to look at. I don't like Mariners cards. I hate the Mariners. I'm an A's fan, but when I look at that, I go.
But it gives you an idea. Maybe I could do a similar collection and steal something.
And we use that word "steal" every once in a while. It's very loose in the sense that we're all about
misappropriate.
Yeah, it's how do we organize our cards and how do we catalog them? And one person, I use Excel and Steph uses Google Docs. There's no right or wrong, but for people that are just starting out, I was telling my wife about this. I know we're getting ready to go, but I said the worst thing you can do is have, we donated some baby stuff to a friend of ours because she doesn't have as much money and she's got a baby on the way. It's like, we're not using this stuff anymore, so pay it forward. And somebody reached out to me on Twitter and they kept asking me a lot of questions. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm asking you a lot of questions. I said, no. I would rather sit there and answer all of his questions as opposed to him getting frustrated and leave our hobby. His hobby, my hobby, your hobby, right?
Right.
Our hobby as a group. And if he's got questions, because somebody sat down with me and I told him, I said, I will answer every question you have so long as you do the same for somebody else if they ever come to you. That's all.
Today you, tomorrow me.
Be gracious with your time, because we still rely on Brent and Ryan and Rob and guys that have been there, that have more knowledge, and I can't tell you how many times I've changed my collecting path because somebody else was collecting something, and it's like, I want to do that too.
Yeah, no. Or I want to add something similar to, like, the pre-war. Like, I don't have a pre-war card, but what's a cool one I could get, like, that I could afford it? I don't even care if I know the guy's name. Like,
Gowdy, T206, and if you really want to go oddball, look up some of the caramel cards, like the 1920, 1921s.
And this is what Stefan got me on, because he collects this kind of stuff. It's a 1988 Topps blank front. Blank front. They do the blank backs all the time. Topps Vault sells them with each release. I didn't know anything about blank fronts until Stefan's like, hey, I collect these. And it's like, and he has some oddball stuff. It's like, no, I'm not doing this.
Like the thing with the print variations on the cards I sent him, the Bowmans.
But I love that he has that, because he shares it with us and we get to see what he enjoys collecting. And that's really what this hobby's about. That's what this podcast is about.
Yeah, and I had like 4 guys who asked me this week, like, what binders I was using for my top sets. And, it's 2-inch Amazon special binders, the Amazon Basic, 4 for like $12 or $14, something like that.
If you're looking to go cheap, right before school started, Walmart had 88-cent binders.
Yeah.
You can always upgrade. Buy what you can afford today, upgrade tomorrow.
Here's what he's talking about. They had different.
So the ones on the left are the normal, and I was starting to binder them, and I looked at them, and it's like, those aren't the same looking cards. I wonder if there's like a back variation or some sort. No, they just ran out of ink when they went to print. And the ones on the right, the Zach Granite and the Brian Bruxton, ended up more purple than blue. Well, now I set aside the purple ones because they're not, quote unquote, the normal print run.
And if anybody deserves those cards in their collection, it's you. And that's
for nickels or dimes at a piece. Yeah, I'll pick them up. Thanks, Tim.
Hey, you're welcome.
I get them every once in a while. People are like, hey, I got some Maguires for you. You want them? And I'm like, nah, I don't need them. And they're like, hey, you can have them anyway because they belong in your home. And that's what I think this hobby is about, is finding the right caretaker.
Yeah. I'm digging through 50, 60,000 cards right now and sorting them by teams, and they're all going to go home to team collectors. I only think there's, what's funny is when I offered this up to everybody and said, hey, I have these teams available. Basically, you buy a flat rate box and you pay for the flat rate box. I'll ship you all the cards. The funniest thing I found were the expansion teams are the last teams to go. The Rockies, Marlins, Rays, Diamondbacks,
sure,
Blue Jays, Expos. The Nationals got mixed in there with the Blue Jay or with the Expos. The Rockies, they were all like even like the Brewers and the Padres. If you go back, these were some of the last teams that were selected or people spoke up for, and it was funny to me because it's all the expansion teams, right? Like the Yankees, the Tigers, the White Sox, the Cubs, the Reds, the Red Sox, the Pirates, the Cardinals were all heavily asked for right off the bat. But it was the expansion teams, even back into the 60s and 70s, that were last thought of. So
last to go off the board.
Yeah. I'll update my list tomorrow and send it out with the teams still left. What's funny though is I've gone through 25 or 30,000, and I've had it's just the era of the cards that this guy collected. 3 Nationals cards, 3, and one of them, the guy is Jose Vidro, and he's in an actual Montreal uniform, but it does say Washington Nationals on the bottom.
Nice.
Hey, real quick, can we throw a couple shout outs to everybody that was participating this evening?
Sure, absolutely.
So we got Chris Torres, where you can find him at TRT Sports. TRT.
I sent that out already. About the cards pod. Tweeted that out.
And then Jenny Miller, which is what, at Jenny Miller 521.
Yes.
Yep.
And Rob Bertrand, of course, at Voice of the Collector, or DOC specifically, as well as he's got his own podcast, which you can catch, I think Tim said, Thursday nights
at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 Eastern.
Go GPS. So definitely, if you haven't followed them and haven't given them a listen, and then once again, Mojo Breaks, you can catch Rob on their episode 58, which aired today at Mojo Breaks. Their podcast is called The Hype. And then, of course, our buddy Ken, which you can follow at Beans with an S, Beans B Card Blog. So you can definitely give him a follow. And then who else am I missing? Who else? Anybody else that was in there that was we definitely want to give credit for everybody that Aaron K. I don't know what information we have on Aaron. You guys can help me out if you know what his Twitter handle is.
Not off the top of my head. Aaron, are you still in the chat, buddy? Let us know. We'll send it out tonight.
Yeah, definitely hit us up. And yeah, just kind of looking through. I think that was the majority of everybody. If we missed you, definitely hit us up on Twitter because we definitely like to throw you a shout out for your support. And we definitely look forward to.
He says not on Twitter that much.
Very much.
But we've chatted, we've DM'd back and forth. Good guy there. Once a Cub as well. Been active tonight, so as
been
always,
a great night, guys.
Yeah.
So we appreciate all the hobby love, and we definitely want to pay it forward with everyone. And thank you guys so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have Steph with us next week. And if not, maybe we can hunt down a co-host to fill in for him. So if you're interested in applying, there's only a small fee of $10,000 to join.
10,000 cards.
And we know if Kevin Mensch comes across, he gets dibs. You have to respect dibs.
Yeah. So if we'd love that, and like I said, if you have topics or something you want us to cover, you see a good story in the hobby, bad story in the hobby, scammers. I know that was a big part of Mojo's thing today about a scammer and a reprint card. So I'm interested to listen into that. Let us know. Let us share it. We want to see this. We want to see your awesome polls. If you get something crazy cool, like a 40 autograph booklet, or you just pull like a neighbor that got picked in the Major League Draft, like let us know. We want to talk about it.
Sure.
And share it with everybody. So thank you all again for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week for episode number 14 at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on YouTube every Wednesday nights. Make sure that you follow us and subscribe on YouTube and iTunes and let us know how we're doing. We appreciate you and thank you very much, and have a good evening. See ya.
Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Have a great collecting ability.